For centuries, across the deserts and red canyons of the American Southwest, one legend has haunted the Navajo people. A tale whispered only at night, by the crackle of the fire, when the wind carries strange voices through the mesas. This is not just a story of spirits or shadows. It is a story of the Skinwalker. Welcome, my friends, to our channel. Tonight, we step deep into the world of Native American mystery and folklore. And the story of today is why the Navajo fear the Skinwalker. The Navajo, or Din as they call themselves, have lived for countless generations among the painted deserts of Arizona, New Mexico, and Utah. Their land is filled with ancient mesas, endless horizons, and silence so deep that even a single howl of a coyote echoes like thunder. In this silence, legends grow, and none is more feared than the tale of the Skinwalker, a creature of witchcraft, a being that walks the thin line between man and beast. The story begins with the understanding of Navajo witchcraft. Not the harmless magic of healing or ceremony, but a darker practice. The Navajo believe that some among them choose to walk the path of evil, to take the powers of the sacred and twist them into corruption. Such a person, when consumed by jealousy, greed, or rage, might perform rituals that forever transform them. Rituals done in secret, in places where the earth is dry and cracked, and the moon hides behind black clouds. The transformation is said to demand the most terrible of sacrifices. Some whisper that the price of becoming a Skinwalker is the taking of a family member's life, a betrayal so deep that it forever severs the person from the bonds of humanity. Only then, drenched in blood and darkness, does the witch gain the ability to shift forms. A Skinwalker may wear the body of a wolf, a coyote, or even the owl, but no matter the disguise, their glowing eyes give them away. Eyes that are not of the animal, nor of the human, but of something caught between. Those who have claimed to see one describe a chilling presence. Imagine this: you are walking home across the desert, under the cold starlight. The land is quiet. Then suddenly, you hear footsteps behind you. But when you turn, nothing is there. The wind picks up, and through the sagebrush, you glimpse a figure, too tall for a wolf, too twisted for a man. And then, the glowing eyes watching. The Skinwalker is said to move faster than any animal, able to run alongside cars on lonely highways, or leap across rocky cliffs with impossible grace. Worse still, it is believed they can invade the human mind, whispering into dreams, or mimicking the voice of someone you love, calling you into the night. For the Navajo, even speaking too much of them is dangerous. It is believed that to talk openly of the Skinwalker is to draw its attention. This is why most elders refuse to share their stories, unless in hushed tones and only when they trust the listener. Fear itself becomes part of the power, the silence surrounding the legend, the way it grows in the shadows of what is left unsaid. In this first part of our journey, we have uncovered the roots of the Skinwalker myth, the path of the dark witch, the terrible sacrifice, and the transformation that births a creature feared above all. But this is only the beginning, because the true terror of the Skinwalker lies not just in the story, but in the encounters, the voices, the tracks, and the chilling tales told by those who claim they have survived a meeting with one. Join me in part 2, where we dive into the first-hand encounters that make the Skinwalker one of the most terrifying legends of the Navajo. In the deserts of the southwest, where night falls and the moonlight paints the mesas in silver, stories of the Skinwalker take on flesh. These are not tales from ancient times alone. They are encounters, moments when ordinary Navajo men and women claim they crossed paths with the creature that wears many skins. One story tells of a Navajo shepherd living far from the village who spent his nights guarding sheep beneath the wide open stars. On a still evening, as the firelight flickered low, he heard footsteps soft but too heavy for a coyote. He thought it might be a wandering dog until he saw the shape, a figure crouched low, moving like an animal but with limbs too long, arms too human. And then the sound, a voice. His own mother's voice, calling his name from across the dark field. But his mother had passed many winters ago. Fear rooted him to the ground. He whispered a prayer in din, clutching a small pouch of corn pollen, a sacred offering carried by many Navajo for protection. The figure froze, its head snapping toward him, and in the reflection of the dying fire he saw the glowing, unnatural eyes. Eyes that did not belong to his mother, nor to any coyote. With trembling hands, he cast the pollen into the flames, and the fire roared high for a single heartbeat. When the smoke cleared, the figure was gone. Only the sheep stirred nervously, as if they too had seen the shadow pass. Another tale comes from the high mesas of New Mexico, where a family traveled by wagon late into the night. The road was long, and the stars above stretched endless, like salt scattered across black velvet. Suddenly, the horses began to panic, their hooves striking the dirt as though something unseen pressed close behind them. The driver urged them faster, the wagon rattling over stones, and that was when they saw it, a dark shape keeping pace beside them. Not a wolf, not a man, but something in between, running on all fours, then rising on two legs, its face a shifting blur. The creature scratched at the wagon's side, leaving marks like claws etched into the wood. And then, in a voice that mocked the father's own tone, it cried out the name of his child. The family covered their ears, chanting prayers, refusing to answer. For to respond, the elders warn, is to give the Skinwalker power over your spirit. The horses galloped until their lungs burned, and only at the first light of dawn did the figure vanish into the sagebrush. When they examined the wagon, the claw marks were still their proof, carved in timber of something no one dared to speak of in daylight. Even today, some say the Skinwalker prowls the lonely highways of the reservation lands. Truck drivers whisper of seeing a figure in the distance, keeping pace with the headlights at impossible speed. Others claim to hear knocks on the windows of their cars when no one is there, the sound of fingernails dragging across glass, and sometimes, when the night is darkest, the voice of a loved one calling from the side of the road. Among the Navajo, there are clear signs that you are being stalked by a Skinwalker. Animals behaving strangely, dogs growling at nothing, horses refusing to move forward. Unnatural noises in the night, knocking, whistling, or the sound of footsteps circling your home. And perhaps the most dreaded of all, finding small bundles of twigs, feathers, or bones left at your doorstep. These are tokens of dark magic, warnings that someone has marked you. In the old days, families would burn cedar and sprinkle corn pollen at their doors, asking the holy people for protection. Even now, some Navajo elders still keep these traditions alive, believing that the ancient ways are the only shield against the darkness. Because once the Skinwalker chooses you, escape is nearly impossible. But not every encounter ends in terror. Some stories tell of brave medicine men who confronted skinwalkers using sacred songs and sand paintings. It's said that the power of balance, the Navajo word for harmony and beauty, can drive away the corruption of witchcraft. Yet such victories are rare and always costly. The skinwalker, once revealed, is known to seek vengeance on those who defy it. As we leave this part of our tale, the desert remains quiet, but the stories linger in the shadows. The shepherd's fire, the wagon's claw marks, the voice calling from the roadside, these are not mere legends, but memories carved into the land of the Navajo. And whether you believe them or not, one truth remains: those who have looked into the glowing eyes of a skinwalker never forget what they saw. In Part 3, we will journey deeper into the origins of these encounters, exploring the forbidden rituals and the whispered knowledge of the Navajo witches who walk the path of darkness. We have followed the stories of those who claim to have seen the skinwalker, but behind every shadow, behind every glowing eye, there is a darker origin. The elders say to become a skinwalker, one must walk a path so forbidden it severs the soul from us, the balance and beauty of life. It begins with sacrifice, not of objects, not of crops, but of blood. The Navajo whisper that the one who seeks the power of the skinwalker must take the life of their own kin. It is this act, the deepest betrayal, that binds the witch to darkness forever. From that moment on, they abandon the ways of healing and harmony, turning instead to curses, shape-shifting, and death. In secret ceremonies, hidden in canyons where the moonlight cannot reach, these witches gather. The sound of drums, hollow and uneven, echoes against stone. The smell of burned hair, ash, and strange herbs fills the air. Witnesses describe figures cloaked in animal hides, faces painted with ash, chanting in voices that seem more growl than human speech. At the center of the circle, a bundle is laid upon the ground, feathers, bones, and fragments of skin stolen from graves. The witch anoints this bundle with blood, whispering names of those they wish to curse. If the ritual is accepted, the witch gains the ability to shift. Some take the form of crows, circling high above villages. Others prefer coyotes, slipping through shadows at the edge of sheep pens. But the most feared are those who can wear the skin of a human. A mask of another person's face, stretched, dried, and painted, placed over their own. In that moment, they do not only look like the victim, they move like them, they speak with their voice. To see such a thing is to feel your very spirit tremble, for it means the witch has claimed a piece of the soul that once belonged to that person. The elders warn that skinwalkers do not simply appear by chance. They are made, and though few admit it, every community whispers about certain families, bloodlines where witchcraft has lingered for generations. Names never spoken aloud at night. Doors closed quickly when footsteps pass after dark. There are also objects tied to these rituals, twisted tools of magic feared by all who live on the reservation. Small pouches filled with bone dust, slipped into a victim's clothing. Powers made from corpse ash, blown into the wind so the target inhales it and falls sick. Even tiny carved dolls, pierced with needles of cactus, left hidden beneath a bed. Each of these carries a fragment of the witch's will, each designed to tear away at health, spirit, and sanity. But the most chilling ritual is the exchange of voices. Stories tell of skinwalkers who steal the sound of a person's cry, trapping it in a bundle of feathers. Once stolen, that voice can be used to lure others into the night. Imagine walking alone, hearing the desperate call of your brother, your wife, your child. You follow the sound, heart pounding, only to find nothing in the darkness. And when you turn back, the figure standing in your place wears your loved one's skin. The medicine men, those who walk the path of healing, rarely speak of these forbidden rituals. It is dangerous even to name them aloud. They say knowledge itself has power, and to describe too clearly the steps of the dark path is to invite it into your home. This is why much of what we know comes only from fragments, whispered warnings, half-told stories, rumors passed down like ashes carried on the wind. Still, one thing is certain: once someone becomes a skinwalker, they cannot return. They are forever cut off from us, doomed to wander between man and beast, between the living and the dead. Their humanity is traded away for power, and that power always hungers. In the lonely deserts of the southwest, people say you can sometimes hear the faint traces of these rituals. A drum beating where no fire burns. A coyote's cry that sounds almost like a laugh. The whisper of your name carried on the wind. And those who hear it know, somewhere close, the forbidden ceremony continues. In part 4, we will turn to the question few dare to ask: how can one defend against such darkness? What weapons, if any, exist against the skinwalker? And what price must be paid for safety when even prayers may not be enough? We have seen how the skinwalker is born and the forbidden rituals that bind them to darkness. But this question remains: how can one defend against a creature that wears the faces of loved ones, that runs faster than wolves, that curses with whispers in the night? The elders say there are ways, though few, and all of them come with risk. The first, and most feared, is to speak the witch's true name. Among the Navajo, it is believed every spell is tied to the identity of the one who cast it. If you know who the skinwalker once was, and you call their name aloud, their power shatters like clay struck by lightning. But to speak such a name is to invite retaliation, for no skinwalker will forgive the one who unmasks them. There are also weapons whispered of in old stories. Bullets coated in white ash, the ash of burned cedar, taken from a sacred fire. If such a bullet pierces the skinwalker's body, it can end their cursed life. Yet those who have tried often fail, for the creature moves like smoke, faster than a hunter can aim. And if the shot misses, the hunter's own family becomes the target of vengeance. Medicine men speak of protection through ceremony. Sand paintings, intricate, fragile, drawn with colored earth upon the ground. Chants older than memory, rising and falling like the wind over canyon walls. These ceremonies are not attacks, but shields. They restore harmony to the victim who has been cursed. Still, they require time, days of preparation, and the skinwalker seldom waits. Often, the one who seeks healing must survive the night first, before the ritual can even begin. Some families keep simple protections close at hand. Eagle feathers placed above the doorway. Sprinkles of corn pollen across the threshold. Turquoise stones carried in the pocket, said to burn hot when evil draws near. These are not weapons, but warnings. They remind the people that balance can still be held if one listens carefully to the signs. But not all defenses are of ceremony or stone. Sometimes survival depends on instinct, knowing when not to answer the voice that calls from the darkness, even when it sounds like your brother. Knowing to walk quickly past the shape of a coyote that lingers too long by the roadside. Knowing to keep the fire burning until dawn, for skinwalkers despise the light. And there is one more belief, darker than the rest. Some say that the only way to be safe is to strike first, to find the witch in their human form, to expose them before they were the skin of another. But this is a dangerous path, for how can one ever be sure? Accuse the wrong person, and you not only destroy a life, you invite the curse upon yourself. The community knows this, which is why names are rarely spoken, and suspicion lingers silently like smoke inside the hogan. The elders warn, never hunt a skinwalker alone. The power of fear itself is their ally. When you are isolated, your spirit weakens, and the creature draws near. But when families gather together, prayers on their lips, songs carried into the night air, the skinwalker hesitates. For even darkness cannot easily break a circle of many voices united. There are stories of those who survived. A boy who heard his grandmother's voice calling him outside, yet remembered her warning never to step into the dark alone. He stayed, trembling by the fire, until morning. At dawn, they found coyote tracks circling the hogan, pressed deep into the dirt. Another tale tells of a hunter who carried a pouch of white cornmeal. When the skinwalker pursued him, he scattered it across the ground, praying with each handful. The creature howled, unable to cross the trail, and fled into the canyons. But let us be clear, there is no absolute safety. The skinwalker is not merely a beast of flesh and bone. It is a shadow, betrayal, or wound in the balance of the world. And no bullet, no feather, no song can erase the fear that lingers when you hear footsteps where no one walks. In the deserts of the Navajo Nation, people still keep their doors locked tight after sundown. Fires are lit, prayers spoken, songs whispered to the stars. Not because they expect the skinwalker to come every night, but because they know somewhere, in the vast silence of the mesas and the canyons, one may already be watching. In Part 5, we will follow the tracks of history. How did the legend of the skinwalker survive for centuries, and why does it still haunt the people today? The answers lie not only in the stories of fear, but in the memories of a culture that has endured. But perhaps the most unsettling truth is this: the skinwalker is not just a monster of the past. Even now, whispers of its presence still echo across the mesas, through the valleys, and deep inside the canyons of Navajo land. Some say it travels at night, cloaked in silence, moving with the wind like an uninvited shadow. According to Navajo healers, the story of the skinwalker was never meant for outsiders. It was a warning, a way to teach children the danger of dark knowledge if straying too far from the sacred path. But over time, the tale slipped beyond the fires of the hogan and into the world beyond, carried by curiosity, by fear, and perhaps by the skinwalker itself. In the Urs, when settlers began pushing west, they too heard the whispers. They told stories of livestock slaughtered in impossible ways, of horses found mutilated under a pale moon, of travelers vanishing without a trace along lonely desert trails. Even hardened men, who laughed at superstitions, grew pale when night fell and coyotes howled too close to camp. For the Navajo, the skinwalker was more than just a cautionary tale. It was proof of what happens when the balance of the world is broken. Every chant, every ceremony, every prayer in their tradition exists to keep harmony intact. But the Skinwalker stands outside of that order, a reminder that evil is not some distant force. It is born from within, from envy, from hatred, from the hunger for forbidden power. Some elders say the Skinwalker legend survives because it must survive. Because in a world where the desert swallows whole towns and the night sky stretches endlessly, you cannot explain away every shadow, every sound, every disappearance. You need a story to name the fear, and the Skinwalker is that story. Even today, there are Navajo who will not speak its name. They lower their voices, glance over their shoulders, and tell you that the more attention you give it, the more it listens back. And if you hear footsteps behind you, though you walk alone, you must not turn around. Perhaps that is why, hundreds of years later, the Skinwalker has not vanished. It lingers in stories, in the desert winds, in the blood-red sunsets that drench the mesas. It survives because fear survives. And as long as men and women dare to whisper about the thing that wears the face of a coyote but walks like a man, the Skinwalker will never truly die. And so the story of tonight ends, but the shadow of the Skinwalker remains, just beyond the firelight. If you listen closely, perhaps you will hear it too. Thank you for listening. If you found this story chilling, please like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next tale waiting in the dark.